YouTube, what's going on, man? I just want to bring y'all some content, bro. I know I missed y'all the other day before. I have been posting pretty consistent. I've been doing some shorts because I've been out of town, but we're back. We're gonna get y'all some videos up, and I owe y'all, man, and I appreciate y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and hop into this video, and yeah, we're gonna do some talking. Let's talk about 2K23. Let's talk about the hit and misses of 2K23, where I think 2K23 could have, really prospered more, and where they should go in the eyes of 2K24. So first thing I like to point out is one thing that I felt 2K23 was missing, and that they probably should try to incorporate into 2K24. And if I mess up while I'm playing, I'm doing this, dead live as possible. But one thing they should incorporate into 2K24 and that should have had in 2K23 was like the grind factor, man. The grind factor of this game was really not that good. And what I mean by the grind factor, you had the legend grind, you had the 99 grind. And now what are you grinding? That season pass? Like, the season pass is there isn't the grind of that. The only grind that there is the grind for the perk badges. And really, the grind for the perk badges, in my opinion, is done so incorrectly, because you pretty much have to get pretty much the best perk badge, which is Accelerator. You have to get that through my career, which is, or it's my career in general, but you get what I'm saying, you have to get through my career play games or playing games, and my career is really the least played mode. Like, the actual games is the least played because everybody's playing Red Park, the Air, the Pro-Am, etc., or not playing it at all because the game kind of gets washed out after 3 months. So I think they have to implement some kind of a grind factor that's going to keep people, pushing and pursuing to try to play the game and try to, get better, and kind of try to, highlight the eyes of, people that really want to have 2K be in the phase where, it's still good and great. Everything right now is just, let me go get the 40, then I'm done. That's all I need, 40 and I'm done. Get my extra badge and I'm done. Get my not perk package, get my badge package, I'm done. All this stuff. So, like, really the grind factor is kind of dull and kind of boring. You gotta have a better grind factor than just, let me hit 40 for the season pass. Like, if you want to be honest, the season pass was a great idea, a wonderful idea. But I don't think that's really a 2K thing. Like, you can have it in there. You can, keep it in my team, because my team has had, something like that for the longest. You can keep it in my team. You can keep it, in multiple different phases of the game. But, like, I think it has to be something else to grind. Now, I know you have the legend grind as far as getting the points and all that stuff, but in my opinion, some of the grinds that they did try to implement in these games are just a little bit too, outlandish in my opinion. And outlandish in the point where it's like, if you don't have anything that feels or seems to be grind worthy, nobody's gonna sit there and try to grind for that, because the game gets kind of drawn down and boring for doing something so simple as that. So yeah, we don't keep it moving and rocking. The next thing I kind of want to hit on is how the community want to highlight, having roles, man. Like, everybody talks about, let's have roles, we need roles. Or at first, well, now they talk about that, but at first it was about, I need my build to do more, I need my build to do this. So if you really think about it, man, this game does absolutely have roles. You have people that come in and say, hey, I need a back end, hey, I need a big that does this, hey, I need a point guard that does this. The game definitely has roles. It's just the fact that the roles, or now anyway, the roles now, people are very capable of doing, multiple things. Because let's be honest, somebody has, or you have someone on your friends list that has a build to where pretty much they only use maybe 60 to 75% of the build, because the other half, or the other 25 to 30% of the build, they really don't know how to use. Like, and it's not the fact that they're bad players. Some of them aren't bad players. It's just not their play style. Like, that's why you see me when I make my builds. Most of the time when I make my builds, especially as a 5, I don't really look for, dribbling. In other builds that I do, I don't look for dribbling, because I have a specific play style that I gear to and I cater to. Because if I put this thing into that thing, or say if I put, more playmaking into my shooting or into my finishing than, I would want to or need to, then I'm losing out on other things that could help benefit my build in terms of like, playing, that certain role that I'm gearing to better. So like, roles are 100% in the game. Now, can you say that people may have too much within the roles? Yeah, it's possible. But roles are in the game, man. So y'all can, you can take that out of your minds as far as thinking roles aren't in the game. They are there. Because whenever you get onto the comp stage or the comp phase of 2K, you 100% see that roles are in the game because of what people specifically ask for to make their team quote unquote comp, right? And the next thing I want to talk about, since we're talking about the comp phase of 2K, I really think 2K went wrong in their most recent 2Ks trying to highlight the casual side of 2K. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that you do have a lot of casuals that play the game and casuals that don't want to necessarily be washed out in terms of like trying to over compete against people who are quote unquote sweats. I get that, 100% get that, but you have to think 2K. I would say probably about 70% of the people who play the game, even the ones who aren't necessarily quote unquote comp, will consider themselves comp or good at 2K. So they want the aspect of the game to be more competitive, not arcade. Like if you think about the park is very arcadey. Theater very arcadey. Right? Honestly, it's very arcadey. The only thing that you kind of get that arcade feel out of is Pro-Am. Now, what can 2K do for that? Make the game in general geared more to the competitors. Because really, if you're going more towards casuals, of course you want to go more to the simulation, more to the arcade, more to this, more to that. And honestly, that makes the game how it is now, not grindable, boring, washed out, season pass, let's just hit 40. You have to make the game, more geared to competitors. And also 2K, what you all are losing on, because you know that you have these casuals. If you're really thinking about it, casuals most of the time are only going to make one build, that's it. They're not going to look for it. If they make another build, they might not even buy DC to put on that build because they don't care about this game. They're just casuals. They're just coming and turning the game on. The people who are really making the builds are your competitive players and your content creators. So you have to think. If you aim and gear your game more towards your competitors and your content creators, you're making more money. Like, the game is almost, too casual to a fault for 2K because you talk about, you making the game, this and that, and it's going to be the best and this, but y'all aren't gearing it to the right people. Of course, if you give it to a casual, they'll think the game is the best because the game is too damn easy. It's too easy. You can't have it that way. And then it hurts the competitive players in the aspect because really, we can go make a build that's going to be broken and it doesn't really make us any better as a team or as, an individual player on the game. So like, what really had 2K in a space that made the competitives and the casuals better is when you had badges, you had things that kind of negated what you could do, so you had to kind of change your game to, reflect what that person that had that badge to stop you to, go against them. And that takes me into, the badges, man. So I did some research and I did some searching, man. So on 2K23, you have 64 total badges, right? 48 of those 64 badges are geared to offense, whether it be shooting, finishing, or dribbling. Or passing. 64 of those are geared to, or 48 of those are geared for offense. The other 16 are defense. So if you really think about it, defense really should be more OP in 2K. Now, this is not me saying, defense needs to be insane. Defense needs to be this. I'm just saying defense has to be more OP because if you're not letting me guard it and you have certain badges on defense that people aren't even using, then guess what? I'm just going to, take an attribute down, and that's what's that's going to make me do. Bump it up to somewhere else, put it on something else, and make my build, more toxic in the trait to where, now I can just guard it just a little bit and do just enough to, stagger it. But I don't have to worry about stopping it because defense doesn't work anyway. You know what I'm saying? And I know y'all seen a bunch of clips talking about, interior defense, this and that and this and that, but it's not just the interior defense. Yeah, interior finishing is a problem. Yeah, it can be tough to stop, but it doesn't make sense that it's this way when you only have 16 badges. 2K should have geared it more to defense like they said they would in the beginning, which they did. So that brings me to saying, like, honestly, in the beginning of 2K23, yes, steals were OP. I'm not knocking that. I'm not saying that they weren't OP. Yes, steals should have been fixed, which they did that. But in my opinion, they dropped it too much. And the problem with steals in the beginning was the fact that badges weren't one-to-one. And that brings me to my next and final point. Badges should be one-to-one. Like I was just speaking on in the beginning of the game with 2K23. When I say one-to-one, I'm saying unpluckable to pickpocket, pick dodger to brick wall, challenger to dead eye and blinders, etc., etc. These badges, if they are faced off against each other, they should work one-on-one. Meaning, if I have Hall of Fame pickpocket to the Hall of Fame glove, my steal should be more so geared to my timing, not necessarily to the badge. If it's gold to gold, silver to silver, etc. If it's Hall of Fame to gold, Hall of Fame should win, but it shouldn't be ripped as frequently as a person who has silver or bronze. If you get what I'm saying. So badges should be one-to-one. And I also went farther in the research thinking on this one-to-one thing going back to like 2K15, because 2K15 actually had a great badge system, even though the part wasn't necessarily a big thing there. But 2K15 had a great, one-to-one thing. And what I mean by that, so the problem you have, I'm gonna stay in this whole thing with badges, but the problem you kind of have with this 2K, when I was talking about the defensive badges and how badges should be more OP for defense, is because if you really think about it, you don't really have badges to necessarily negate, drop, or anything like that for the offensive player. And then also there are so many badges for offensive players to negate the defensive badge, to where honestly you can have one offensive badge, or say if you're a finisher, you have posterizer, slithery, limitless takeoff, fearless finisher, giant slayer. You have all of these on, but all I have is anchor. Not most of the time Hall of Fame anchor is not even working on that, because if I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna give y'all something. If you're 7 foot and up, playing interior defense is way harder than playing it with a shorter build. Why? It's because the badges, Giant Slayer, Slithery, Limitless Takeoff, so on and so forth, do not work as well on a smaller rim protecting build than it does a taller rim protecting build, because 2K has their mechanics of rim protecting as far as height kinda wonky. And I don't know what went wrong, where it went wrong, how it happened, but it happened. So right now it's very, like, in my opinion, it's very stupid in terms of I have to get on a smaller build to actually rim protect. It doesn't make sense. So that goes back to, back to the thing, what I was saying with 2K15. So in 2K15 you had 2 badges. You had perimeter lockdown and you had a post move lockdown. Perimeter lockdown allowed you to play defense on the perimeter whenever you were close to the guard to someone. It would drop their badge to you. Post move lockdown did the same thing, but in the post. And then if you go on to 16, 17, 18, and even to current, they took that badge effect out of the game, or just that effect out of the game, because I think you had a lot of people complaining, but I also think they felt like it was giving an unfair advantage. But let's really think about that. Is it really giving an unfair advantage when the game 2K itself is geared more so to offense? 2K wants to see offense. They want to see high scoring. They want to see the clips as far as everybody getting crossed over. But where's the defense? If you get what I'm saying, basketball is a 2-part game. Yeah, it's heavily on offense, but you gotta have a defense, because you have people who want to be defenders. You have people who want to lock people up. Like right now in this game on 2K, you have multiple badges that people are taking lesser of, as far as challenger, pickpocket, because you don't have to aim to get it Hall of Fame and gold, because it still works just as well. So what I'm saying is, if you have these badges to where it's geared to where they work one to one, to where my Hall of Fame would work well against their Hall of Fame, my clamp should work against their Hall of Fame clamp breaker, so on and so forth. We won't have as many problems with the rim running, as many problems with the screens, as many problems with the side to side, as many problems with the clamp breaker blow bys. Like it's so many easy and simple fixes that 2K can go to, but they just don't. So hopefully with 2K24, man, they really take a look into this game, because you have multiple 2Ks where I would say they had badges and gameplay pretty much done correctly, man. And if I'm playing trash right now, y'all can drop it in the comments. I'm 5 for 5. I'm not really doing anything wrong, but I'm really like halfway paying attention. I know my dude has hit a few threes, but yeah, man, 2K has games that they have really done right. 15 was one of those, but really didn't have a face in terms of like the part competitive aspect. 16 was okay, 17 was better, 18 19 kind of was like that hitting points where it was like, yeah, this is it. They pretty much did 19 right. But then as you continue, 20, that's when they brought in the extra finishing badges like extra footwork, so on and so forth. They started bringing in and incorporating more offensive badges, and more defensive badges that did not negate anything on offense. Because let's think about this thing, and we're going to talk about the roles again. This is how roles were incorporated. So if you think you had, that's a bucket, had to put once a miss. But if you think about it, you had these badges to negate. So if you had these badges to negate, you actually had a person on your team that was designated to be a lock who had these badges, and they would throw them on this build, and you pretty much would take a build out. So what the offensive team would have to do, or the other team would have to do, you have to figure out how to get this defensive player off of this player, create a mismatch the other way. And really, if you think in terms of the casuals, many people do not want to do that. Many people don't want to sweat that hard to try to figure out that aspect of 2K because they really don't want to take it that far because it's a video game. They want to keep it into a video game aspect. That's really the true thing to it. So 2K in turn trying to make the game more arcadey because they felt like the community was geared more to casuals than it was to the competitive players, where that's incorrect. Because if your community was more geared to casuals, why would you have over 1,000 people, or multiple thousands of people competing to get on the NBA 2K League team? Like if they're trying to get into the NBA 2K League, why would you want casuals to have that aspect of doing it? Like, you have great NBA 2K League players, that's obvious, you do. You have some of them that are really good, some of them that are like average, if you want to be honest. But really, your most competitive position in your NBA 2K League is your guards. Why? It's because your guards have to be the most dominant. Your big position isn't really that good. If you do see a good big in your NBA 2K League, they're dominating the other bigs, 100%. But half the time, majority of the time, the best players on your 2K League team are the guards. You don't have any kind of face, with the league, or any kind of like diversity in the league, because it's all guard driven, in my opinion. The first season of NBA 2K, whenever they started that, you actually had people who had the locks and all this stuff. You actually had more builds that were geared to that. And I'm not saying this 2K, like I said, I'm not saying this 2K is, incorrect in saying that roles are taken out. But I think the idea of a role being specifically geared to do one thing, to stop one thing, has been taken out, because you can't necessarily stop it. And you can say, well, just get better at the sticks. It's most of the time, it's not even getting better at the sticks. Most of the time, it's just the animations. It's not even as simple as getting better at the sticks. It's just the animations, man. 2K has to have better animations in terms of allowing the defender to actually defend. Like, I don't know if you all have actually played, basketball in real life, but as a defender, you can be a offensive minded kind of person. And I'm not talking about in terms of scoring right now. I'm talking about offensive, where you are dictating that offensive player to do what you want to do based off your defense. On this 2K, you cannot do that. You can't do that. Why? It's because you don't get good enough animations to where you can dictate anything. Most of the time, it's just you know, hoping you can stay in front, because you are relying on badges that, you know, pretty much don't work and don't give you anything as far as animation. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like, that's the honest truth. So 2K23, and you know, the phase of 2K23 is over, but 2K24 has to do better. It has to do better. Make the game grindable. Make the badges 1-to-1. Bring back roles in the aspect to where, yeah, we need this specifically on the team. Yeah, you can have people that can do multiple things, or you can have multiple people on the team that can do multiple things, but you have to have something or somebody on that team that is geared to stop and do that and can stop the one thing that the offense is great at and good at. So don't just leave out the defense. Don't just leave out, you know, the aspect of being able to stop something or anything. You gotta have it in there. And then the point of the comp players, the content creators. Most people hate the content creators, but 2K is only gonna listen to the content creators. But I have to say 2K has to find the right content creators to listen to in terms of making the right game. So 2K, make sure you got your comp players over your casuals. And then after that, we're going to make sure we got the content creators over the casuals, because that's what matters, man. That's what truly matters. So, with all that being said, make sure y'all drop a like and subscribe if you like the content. We're in the last 2 minutes of the game. I don't think I'm going to let it play out. We're more likely going to win this. Nobody really likes to see wreck gameplay, if you want to be honest. But I had to have something in the background to kind of fill up the time. So, other than that, I'll tell you, it's your boy CJ. I'm going to sign out. Peace.
Let's go. If you like it, then I love it.